You're listening to the Gratitude Podcast, episode 102.
We need to appreciate ourselves first, see our strengths first, and then work on the strengths. Of course, we need to know, acknowledge our weakness, but the amount of time that we should appreciate ourselves and work on the strengths should be much more than the time that we use to work on the weaknesses, because then we will have a lot of more weaknesses because our strengths won't be strengths anymore. They're sort of diluted because we're not really using them.
This episode is supported by Laura Lemon's Mosaic Weighted Blankets. Here's what a verified customer had to say about the Mosaic Weighted Blankets. This weighted blanket is phenomenal. It relieves my anxiety, has helped me sleep, and has eased my migraines and restless leg syndrome. If you want better sleep and less anxiety, click on the link in the description.
Welcome to the Gratitude Podcast on www.georgeandbenta.com, where you'll hear a new story each week that will inspire more gratitude in your own life. Our mission is to inspire 100,000 people to discover how to feel gratitude and live a happy life through the amazing life stories of our successful guests and their actionable tips. And now, the host of our podcast, George and Benta.
Hi, Gratitude Seeker. Welcome to this new episode of the Gratitude Podcast. Today with me, I have Sissi Goh. She calls herself a romantic realist. She is an executive wealth consultant and an award-winning author of Wealth Management Isn't Just for the Rich, co-authored by New York Times bestselling author Raymond Aaron. She feels lucky that she enjoys her work greatly, and she thinks that wealth comprises both the financial and the psychological aspects as well. So we will go into that in more detail, and we will find out more about Sissi. She's from Singapore, and we will get to know her a little bit more in the coming minutes, right?
Right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Sissi Goh, and I'm a wealth strategist, author, and life coach. So I'm really, really glad that I'm here to share my stories for gratitude.
Awesome. It's really nice to have you. So my first question for you is, how does gratitude work for you? Like, how do you see gratitude in your own life?
So there are a lot of things that I'm so grateful for. I think how I see gratitude is that I always believe that the best things will be given to me somehow. So it's like for myself, it's like sometimes when I don't see, even like when I face setbacks, when I didn't do well, either in my career or, personal life, I thought that I didn't do well. I thought that, I failed in some way, but it all came out like after a few years when I look back. It's such a great gift for me because I really experienced a lot more, and it turned out to be something that I'm really grateful for, and it's the best fit for my life and my career. So that's I think it helps me to see life in very different perspective. I would just share with you a personal life story of how I actually found my boyfriend, right? So for for 29 years, I couldn't find a boyfriend, and everybody was thinking that I was so choosy, like, how come you can't even date or whatever. So for a moment, for some time actually, I was very frustrated because I was thinking, am I the problematic kind, or it's just so difficult. Everybody can find a boyfriend. Why can't I? But then the thing is, I also know what exactly I'm looking for in a guy, right? What kind of characteristics and what kind of personality I'm looking for. It's all the small things matter. So I don't want to settle. So for the less, I think I deserve better. But then on the other hand, I was thinking, oh my God, and turning 30, it's like, because in Asia, age is a huge thing for girls. But then things happened when I was the most, like I was so busy with my career. And because, the thing is, when you are not successful in one thing, you would tend to spend more time on the other thing. So for me, I spend more time on my career, right? And on writing my book and all that. So it happened last year that I was so drained after like editing my book and, going for work. Then I just went to an oyster buffet organized by my friends, and they were chatting, but I was so tired. I was so exhausted. I was just like focused. I was so focused on eating the oysters that I had 20 oysters in one go. And that actually impressed the guy next to me. I never thought I would, impress someone by my eating ability, but it just turned out well, and he became my boyfriend. So the moral of the story is, like it's okay to wait, and also you can't screw up with the right guy, because I didn't wear makeup, and I didn't try to impress anybody, but it just turned out well. So looking back, I think it's worth the wait, 29 years of waiting. So at that time I was thinking, oh, why am I still single? Like every Valentine's Day, I was like so frustrated. But then now I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing that I've waited. So yeah, that's one example that, things that you don't think is good right now, it can turn out to be a really good thing in the later part of your life.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful, especially for our young listeners that might want everything right now, and uh, that don't know that it actually takes time for things to become real, to keep being grateful, to keep appreciating what is and the small things, and like you were appreciating the oysters, and and you never
Right,
know what
right.
happens.
Right, you never know. And Warren Buffett actually said the best failure that in his life was the fact that he didn't go to Harvard. He was rejected by Harvard Business School, and he went to Columbia. And he thought that after a while, he realized that it's the best failure, because he was in New York and he had a chance to be on Wall Street. He's so close to the financial center that he made his success. So, but at that time, apparently he would think that it's a failure that he didn't go to Harvard. It's like a lot of, young people, they try so hard to work for a goal, and they failed. They thought it's the worst thing that happened in their life, but it's not. It could be the best thing that happened in your life. And
Hmm.
that's what I believe too.
That's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. That's wonderful, and I love your story, and I love the fact that it gives us hope, and it gives our listeners hope, knowing
Right,
that it pays to think in long term, not just in short terms, and
right.
um, yeah, I love that. So, do you feel that on your way to success,
Mm-hmm.
gratitude has been helpful?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because I always reflect back on what happened, and in my career, and even for the mistakes, or for some things that happened, unexpectedly, that sort of like that moment I thought it's a hinder to my growth, but it's not. So I'll give you an example that just happened recently, because after I published my book, I had a lot of chances for interviews, for workshops, and so I did, because my book was purely on investment, and it was for millennials as well. So I had a talk in one of the local universities, and then I didn't really expect that actually the attendees were much older or much more mature than I thought. So during the talk, everything was okay. People laughed. They were very engaging. But during the Q&A, I realized that a lot of questions were on estate and legacy planning, because they're more matured. So then I didn't expect that kind of question, because my talk was purely on investment, the investment options, how to discern different kind of investment strategies, and then the questions turn out to be totally different, right? Because this is like totally a different topic altogether. And I was thinking, oh, probably I did a wrong talk, because all the questions almost like, I think I got like 6 to 7 of them were on essay planning. But that moment I was like, oh no. Now I realize like the constraint is different. But then when I look into this issue in a more positive light, right, I realize actually my target audience is much larger than I thought. And they actually came to me. Those people, I don't know any of them, and they showed up and they wanted to know more. So then inspired me to do more, to really write. Recently, I've been writing articles on estate planning itself. Like I just finished one, which will be published next week, on simultaneous death, which is like when husband and wife die together. What's the financial implication to the next generation and to the in-laws, right? So I got this inspiration from the talk itself, because I realized actually people have other concerns which I can also provide value for. So to me, that talk was at that time I was thinking, oh, it wasn't successful because people were thinking about something else. But then I realized actually there's so much more I can do. So that makes me actually grateful for. So there are many instances that I feel at that time I thought it's a mistake, it's a failure, or I just didn't do well in that occasion. But then when I reflect back, I would think about the opportunities that I can get from this sort of like imperfect attempt. So that's how I grow personally and in terms of career, and that's how I expand opportunities, to do more things.
I love it. I love it. I think too that rarely does something turn out perfectly. Like in our situation right now with the interview, we had some challenges with the audio and things of that nature. And I think that the best thing that we can do, and that gratitude helps us with, is seeing the perspective, like the whole perspective, and finding the opportunities and seeing the whole picture. Like right now, what we're doing, it's quite incredible. Like you're in Singapore, I'm in Romania. We're so far away from each other, and we're still able to have this conversation and to learn from each other, and to actually broadcast this and get to inspire other people as well. And I think this is quite amazing, in spite of the issues that we had in the beginning. So
yes,
yeah,
it's amazing actually, because we have the same values and it actually links us together to do this.
Exactly.
I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, like in your culture, do you have any specific teachings or habits regarding to gratitude?
Okay, I'm not sure whether it's a culture, like our culture, that we do this, but I do have like something I practice with my friends, because I always do, practice some things with people with the same value. So we have this like working group. We always they actually also graduated from the same university as me, and we organize a lot of events to give back to society, like leadership for social growth or happiness kind of events. So then because we work together for events, then we will practice like gratitude, like small acts of gratitude. Then we will update each other about what we're grateful for every day. So we make a practice, like a habit. And we will update, oh, what happened today? I'm so grateful that this and this and this happened, so that we will feel good about ourselves and about life in general. And I also do this practice with my boyfriend. So I'll make the use of the opportunity to make him appreciate me, and also I will appreciate him in return, right? So we will make small videos because I'm on long distance as well. So it's like we'll make small videos to talk about what I appreciate about him and what he appreciates about me. Then in that way, actually, our love and bond grows stronger because
Wow.
it like a constant reminder of us, like for us, like how great each other of us are. So it's pretty amazing.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful, and I think it's a really good idea to um, like to actually put into practice by our listeners as well, like to create these
Mm,
kinds of short videos in which we tell the other person what we appreciate about them, and
mm.
it doesn't have to, like if you're in a long distance relationship, this is really practical, but I think
Right,
we can do this even if we're closer together. I think it's actually like a really good idea, like a video thank you note or something like this. This is
right.
how I say it. It's really a good idea, a great idea actually.
Right. The thing is, we need to express our gratitude. I know a lot of people actually they are grateful for a lot of things that happen to them. They're grateful for even for friendship, for parents, right? But they don't show it. The thing is, when they don't express it, then the other people won't know, and they won't be reminded themselves, right? So it's actually very important for us to show our gratitude, to praise other people. And this is actually especially important in Asia, because in Asian societies that we don't give praise easily. We tend to be more critical. But I think we need to express more of like give people compliment, and in a way actually you're complimenting yourself, your own life, because see, you're surrounded by such wonderful people. You need to let them know and let yourself know. So I think that's something that we need to do more. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, I love this. Like the fact that we express our appreciation for the people around us actually gets gets back to us. Like we realize that we are fortunate that we have these people around
Right.
us.
Right.
This is really good. Like I didn't think about this from this perspective, and it makes a lot of sense. Like I was thinking the impact it has on the other people, letting them know that you appreciate them, but it actually makes you feel better about the people around you. Because if you're complaining all the time about them, it
Mm,
makes you feel that you have awful people around you, right?
right, exactly.
Yeah, this is really good. This is really good. So, do you have like a quote that you like about gratitude?
I like a few, quite a number actually. Like something that I saw like I think a few months ago was like, gratitude is the rent you pay for living on the earth. It's quite strong, but it makes us feel realize that it's actually we have to be, you know, grateful for the things we have, because this is the rent we have to pay. So, and also, I think opposite is something like, uh, I'm grateful to be aged, to be blessed, and to be aged every year, something like that. I think that because I just turned 30 actually a few days ago, and I'm not, because in Asia is another problem is people are so, especially girls, so we're so afraid of being older, right? But for me is I never thought that age is a problem. I think um, it's something that I'm grateful for, and I don't really miss the time that when I was 18, 21. I think we can be beautiful at every age, and it's just different kind of beauty. It's like right now I would be much wiser than I was when I was 18 years old, and I would be even wiser later on. So I'm not afraid of to be old in that sense. And also, I think Tony Robbins said that when you're grateful, then you won't be as fearful, and you will feel abundance, right? So I think this is very good as well, because when you feel that you have so much things that you have so much things instead of thinking of, oh, I don't have this and don't have that, then you won't be fearful of what you don't have, and you won't be fearful of, where you're heading to. So because you have so much love, you have so much, you have good health, you have, whatever, and you would think of the more, you're focused on the more than the less. So then you'll be even more brave to go forward. So I really like all those like cozy, keep me strong, and yeah, you make me more. You make me feel that my life is just so wonderful.
Exactly. I love the part about the age, and I'm sure it's different for women than it is for men, and it's so if we think about the past and we feel bad that we're not 18 anymore or 20 or something, that just makes us sad, and it takes from us appreciating the age that at which we are right now. And there is this thing that we are not getting any younger. Like if right now we don't appreciate the age that we're at, that means that 10 years from now we won't be appreciating the age. We would be thinking about the age at which we are right now, and think, oh my god, that was so good, why didn't I appreciate it,
Right, exactly.
And I love your perspective on this, and on beauty, on the fact that um, each age has its own beauty, and like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be really young to be beautiful, and that
Exactly.
you can be beautiful in different ways at different ages. And I think this is actually the truth, but probably the media isn't doing much of a favor for women from this point of view.
Right. Yeah.
So another thing that I wanted to mention about you, about what you just said, um, was having abundance and perspective on abundance. Um,
Mm,
and I think that wealth management has a lot to do with this as well. Like the fact that you're aware of your resources, and you're also aware of the longer term perspective,
mm,
that can be really helpful.
right.
So what's your take on this? Like, how can we get better at uh, like managing our assets
Mm-hmm.
through a positive gratitude perspective? This episode is supported by Laura Lemon's Mosaic Weighted Blankets. Here's what a verified customer had to say about the Mosaic Weighted Blankets. I love this blanket. Before I got this blanket, I would toss and turn so violently that I would wake myself up several times throughout the night. I've had my blanket for about 2 weeks now, and I don't wake up at all anymore due to tossing and turning. I was concerned that the blanket would be too hot to sleep with, but it's actually been the opposite. The blanket is made with pockets of beads and stuffing, like you'd find in a Beanie Baby. So the beads move around and shift with gravity, so there actually can be plenty of airflow. But all in all, I love my new blanket. Thank you for a much better and more restful sleep. Sarah M. Visit the link in the description for more information. How can we use gratitude to enjoy the physical abundance, the assets that we have, and also like think in the long term? Because I know that wealth management has a lot to do with thinking not just for today, but also for the future and for the next generations and things of this nature.
Well, there's some connection to it, because wealth, like true wealth management, like or investment, or be it or even estate planning, all that, you need to take a long-term view. So it's like how you take on what your life, right? How you see your life. It's not just about certain point in time or certain point in the market. It's more about what you want to achieve in the longer period of time. So what's your financial goal? What's your life goal? Is interconnected. So it's, you have to see your life in a longer term and know what exactly you will be at and where are you now, and try to link them. The why and how, why and what are more important. The why is most important element. So why do you want to do this in terms of career? Why do you want to do this? Does it make you happy? If it can never be money itself. It's strange that I'm doing wealth management, but I tell people it's never about just money, because money is a byproduct. The why is more important than the what and how. So how is how you get there, right? But most importantly, which it takes, maybe for some people it would take like 10, 20 years to figure out the why they are doing this. I would say that for them is to think about what's the skill set. I've actually mentioned it in one of the millionaire mindset Facebook live, which is about, not just, my goal shouldn't be just to make money. My goal is like, what are my values? What are my skill set? How can I use my skill set to create values for people? Right? When you have that, you figure out that, then you will develop passion. So passion can be developed. I don't believe that, oh, it's just about passion, it's just about finding what you love. It's not as easy. Then if that's the case, then half of the population will be singers, and then half of the population will be sportsmen, right? That's what you love to do. But then what do you use to create values to society? You need to be good at it, right? Like how we love math when we were young, right? How we love music, how we love certain subjects, because we are good at it. Then you use that to create values. How can you use something that you're super good at to create values? You work on your strengths, not your weakness. You then use your strengths to create value. You will be super passionate because you know you're doing something that you're good at and you're creating value. And then you will get money from the process. So that's how people can build that, to first of all grow their wealth. Then we talk about how you manage your money later on. So I think that part is also linked to gratitude, because then you need to first identify, appreciate yourself, try to find what you're good at, and then use what you have to create value. I think, yeah. And then when you do it successfully, you will even feel more grateful for your life and what you have, what you're doing. So it's actually a cycle. So you need to start with things you have, and not for the things you don't have. A lot of people are just like, oh, I don't have money, that's why I work for money. That is even worse. It's a vicious cycle.
I love your answer, and it's even better than I expected, and I was thinking also about one thing that I know you mentioned in your book, and I found it helpful in my experience as well. And it's helpful that it puts you in a different state, like generally. This is pay yourself first. Like
Right.
when you do that, and when you know that you have a certain percentage put aside and you have some money there, it makes you see the world like really differently, and it makes it easier for you to appreciate everything. Like you don't have that constant stress about money that
Right.
takes away from gratitude. Can you talk a little bit about paying yourself first?
Right. Being yourself, I think it starts with appreciating yourself. So sometimes when I talk to young people, or even people of my age or even older, it's like I ask them, so what are you good at? Then they come out to say nothing. How can you be good at nothing? It's like it's the low self-esteem. So I think being yourself is not just about identifying your weaknesses. Like people always talk about see your weakness and work on it. I think we need to appreciate ourselves first, see our strengths first, and then work on the strengths. Of course, we need to know, acknowledge our weakness, but the amount of time that we should appreciate ourselves and work on the strengths should be much more than the time that we use to work on the weaknesses, because then we will have a lot of more weaknesses because our strengths won't be strengths anymore. They're sort of diluted because we're not really using them, right? So I think be ourselves is like something that people overlook, is that we need to be ourselves and appreciate ourselves and know how do we use our strengths. Don't pretend to be somebody else that if you're pretending to be somebody else, then you're not comfortable. We are comfortable at doing what you love and what you are good at. You get even more comfortable because you're at ease, you see, then you can do well. Yeah, so I think that's my take on being myself. Right.
Awesome. So I was mentioning something different, but I think you actually got to a point that's really important, and I really forgot about that. Like, I know I've been doing that early on in my career and in my childhood. I've tried being other people, and I didn't know who I was, and I didn't appreciate my strengths too much. And indeed, it wasn't fulfilling at all. Like, it was really weird because I felt that I needed to be something else, to be someone else, and that can be really tiring. Like,
Yeah, it's a problem with a lot of people actually, because we are so especially in Asian culture, we were taught to be humble, right? So when we were young, right, a lot of people would tell us, okay, you need to work on this, which is our weaknesses, right? So you need to our A and B and C, which are all weaknesses. Then our focus shifted from looking at our strengths to looking at our weaknesses. Then we try to be somebody else because other people are good at this and we're not, so we try to be like them, right? And our definition of success is defined by other people too, by peer pressure, by oh, you have to be good at math, you have to be good at science in order to succeed in your study. That's the Asian culture. In Singapore, it's like that. When you are good at math and science, you are a good student, right? That was the mentality, but it's not true. If I'm good at literature, why should I study more, right? Why should I work on the strengths instead of the weakness, which is like, if I'm not good at math, I'm not good. No matter how much time I have to spend on that, I won't be as good as other people. But if I read a few more books, I can write a lot. I can do a lot of other things, right? I can be a lot more creative than other people. But it's the mentality we were being taught, being inculcated when we were young. So I want to change this mentality, especially for the young people. Like, remember to look for your strengths first. Yeah, instead of just looking at your weakness, right? It's the same as like how you can be grateful for your life, because when you are grateful, you look at the beautiful things. When you are not grateful, you look at the negative things, right? Then you would turn out to be even more negative, because when you're negative about life, everything's negative. But when you look at a bigger picture, which is what you already have, then you will be even more grateful, and then your life will be more wonderful. It's always like that. Yeah.
definitely. And it really is a really good comparison. Like, if we think about and focus on our weaknesses, like, we can do that for the rest of our lives, because this is what they are. So we can improve on them, of course, but they are still our weaknesses. Like, they are still those things that like naturally we are not talented in or something like this. But if we see our strengths, our the things that actually make us great and that other people appreciate about ourselves as well, like this is really good. When you think about what are my strengths, what do people
Mm,
appreciate about you, what do people say that you're good at, or what do they come for counsel, or
mm,
what do they like about you. And it can be really useful to see that, to acknowledge that. And it can be really hard, to be honest, if I'm thinking about it, because if we are in that perspective of seeing our weaknesses, it's harder to see those strengths. Do you have any tips on how we can actually um, become aware of our strengths and appreciate them more?
I think one way is I actually tried so many methods, but I think easier way is when you talk to friends and then you can just ask them like, what do you see in me that's different from the others? What do you appreciate about me? And you can do the same to your friends. Like you can tell them what you appreciate about them, which defines their strengths, right? Recently that there's a friend who actually is going through a like transition in job, right? So she actually wants to change it to a new job, but then she's thinking, what should she do, right? What kind of job she should take? Then she asked me about my opinion about her. So I say you're a good connector. So the word connector actually made her realize actually she can do something that's related to connecting people, right? So I think when you're not sure, you can just ask your friends, because as a third party they would see better. Then they would tell you what are your strengths, right? So don't go around and ask people what do you think I'm not good at anymore. Just ask them what do you think I'm good at, what should I do next, right? What should I you work make even better, right? So that's one thing. And of course, that's another easier way. If you don't feel like talking to people and asking around, you can use like personality test also. And then probably you would identify something, because there are personality tests that tells you what's your top 5 strengths, for example, then help you to understand. Or even something like MBTI, the extroverted, introverted, that kind of things. They have a detailed report. Then probably you would identify some things from there. If you agree, then you can work from there. There are many ways, but I personally think like talking to your close friends can be a way, or even talking to your bosses, right, your colleagues, because they can see you and they can tell you what you're good at and what you're not, right? So, and focus on the things that you're good at.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
because sometimes when people praise you, then they say, oh, but then you will tend to focus on the bad part. But when you are trying to find out your strengths, focus on the things before the bad. Right?
Yes, we do this. We do this, and we tend to overlook the positive things that other people say about us, because we feel imperfect. We feel that I don't know, they might not see the whole picture or something like this. But actually, being aware of these compliments, of the things that other people um, tell us about ourselves, can be
Mm-hmm.
so useful and so important in actually finding what actually is a strength for us. And another thing about this is that usually we can see it. Like if we're really good at something, for us it's so
Mm-hmm.
natural that we can't see it. We're just not aware of it. And your tip is really good with this, because people around us can see our strengths much easier than we can, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. And then because they will be amazed. Sometimes like when for you it's like, oh, you're just naturally good at this, and for you you only spend like maybe 2 minutes doing something while other people need to spend a few hours, and they were like, oh, you're so fast. then you need to take note of all those comments. You'll be like, yeah, but it's easy. But it's easy to you. It's not easy to other people. So then that means it's your strength. Then you have to amplify it, right? Make
Wonderful.
use of it to do better things, to create
Wonderful.
better value. Yeah.
I think this is really useful for our audience. For me, it is as well, and I'm looking into how I can apply it myself as well to get more into my strengths and appreciate them more. And yeah,
Mm,
these tips are really useful and really easy to apply. But
I'm glad.
we're nearing the end of our time together, and I wanted to ask you, who are the people in your life that you're grateful for, like that they had an impact in your life and that you would like to mention?
Uh, Actually, there are so many of them. First of all, of course, my grandparents, my parents, they are really very, very supportive in my life. Especially, because I have been a very independent person, and I always have a lot of ideas for my own life, and they have always been there to support me, even during not just the ups but also the downs. They are there to support. So I'm really grateful. And my parents didn't like my career, my job initially, because they wanted, as an Asian parents, they actually wanted me to work for government and all that. But I realized it's not. It's just it doesn't suit my character, my personalities. So then I chose my own path, which initially they didn't like, but after a while, they they realize actually I'm really good at this. So and now they really see um, it is actually the right path for me to take. But then, even though at the time they didn't really like it, they still supported me. So I'm really grateful, and I'm grateful for the teachers in my life, because people can say that I have a really good education, blah blah blah, but it's actually, I think it's the people. Since young, like I remember my primary school teachers, secondary school, junior college, like high school, even university, masters. All the teachers in my life actually shaped who I am today. They taught me a lot of things, not just about the subject matters, but also about life. About I still remember my literature teacher. It's funny because I was a science student, but I took a contrasting subject as English lit. But I remember all the text from the English lit. The science part I already forgot. But I still remember, because that taught me to be a human first, right? It taught me how to live my life, how to think about my life, and so I think I am grateful for all the teachers, and not just teachers in school, but teachers in my life, right? The people. I think it's the people that who shaped my life, really, like until now, right? It's because I am very open to meeting new people, and they always inspire me in different ways. There are too many stories that I can share, but it's really the people, and even the people who didn't treat me well. I'm grateful that I met them. I realized what is important to me. Um, Through them, because of the difficulties, the hardship that they provided, I grew up a lot faster than I would without them. So I'm grateful for all those experiences and those people in my life. Yeah, so it's countless. If you ask me like how many people I'm grateful for, it's like really countless. Too many.
Yeah, I'm sure that you can go on for hours maybe on this.
Right.
So thank you so much for sharing that. And like, where can our audience find you? Where can our audience see your book and see your work?
I have my personal website is www.ccgo.com. Sissi is spelled as SISSI. And I also have my book website, which is www.retiringinluxury.com. My book's name is Wealth Management Isn't Just for the Rich. So if you search my name, you will find it. It's very easy.
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here with us and for sharing so many amazing tips. I'm really grateful that we've met and that we had this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share my stories. Thank you. Have a nice day.
But before we go, I want to tell you why I chose Mosaic Weighted Blankets as a sponsor. Living a happy life has a lot to do with being well rested. And Laura, the CEO of Mosaic Weighted Blankets, has solutions for each age group and the best reviews out there. Just check them out. You can find them at bit.ly/mosaicweighted, or you can click on the link in the description. Again, thank you so much for choosing to spend this time with me, and I really hope it was time you enjoyed spending. Best wishes, and don't forget to keep seeking gratitude.